I started touring, at probably 12 or 13.
She spent 14-hour days on set, recorded music in the evening, and spent weekends performing live for fans.
Hannah Montana. Hey, whatever happened to her?
A lot of drugs. How much can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel?
All right, I don't really want to necessarily do this one anymore because my throat's really starting to, I feel like it's starting to hurt.
You and your daughter, it didn't look like a father and a daughter. It looked like a boyfriend and a girlfriend.
Miley Cyrus was overworked by Disney and her own father. As a preteen, she was on set every day, constantly taking interviews, and went through psychological trauma pretending to be a character. Her identity was at stake, and she never had a chance to make her own choices. Now, Miley has reclaimed her life, but the past still haunts her. So let's get into it. There have been plenty of child stars who are overworked to the point where they have a breakdown. Some of them survive it and others don't. Miley Cyrus is one of those child stars who has made a name for herself, but it did not come easy. And looking back on her time as a child star, working for Disney, playing Hannah Montana, she was clearly overworked and exhausted. There have been viral clips going around of Miley talking about her work schedule, and I want to take a deeper dive. Miley recently came out with a song titled Used to Be Young, and she's doing a confessional series on her TikTok where she's sharing her experience. The singer gave fans a glimpse at the insane hours she used to work when she was just a preteen, back when she was on the fast track to stardom through Disney Channel's Hannah Montana. Even Miley was shocked looking back on her old schedule. She would start at 5:30 in the morning, and then she had hair and makeup, and then she had 4 different interviews, 7:15, 7:45, 8:15, 8:45, and that's a lot of pressure on a kid back in like 2005. Here's a clip of Miley Cyrus on Joe Rogan explaining how difficult this schedule was.
Really, I started touring, at probably 12 or 13, and not only was the adrenaline that you have after a show, it's not really the singing that affects your voice as much, it's afterwards. You're totally on, and then it's really hard to get that sleep. You stay up talking all night. Later, the talking all night turned into smoking all night, and now this is kind of where we're at. We got some dirt on her.
But it had to be really odd to be working that much and be a young girl.
The balance it trained me to have is something that I don't think you are going to get taught any other way besides jumping in the deep end of the pool and hoping you know how to swim. That's the only way. There was no way I could have prepared for the amount of balance I would have to learn to kind of teeter, because, at one point, again, it went from, it was school, then it went from, how much can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel? and then
What's the answer to that question?
More than you would fucking think.
So at a young age, Miley was using some drugs to help her get by. And I mean, I don't blame her. That same day, that same schedule she's talking about, she had all these interviews, and then she had more interviews in the evening. The next day then starts at 7 a.m. and then ends at 7:30 p.m., where then she flies home to be Hannah Montana. As I shared, Miley is doing a new confessional on her TikTok page. And that's when she goes into detail about this schedule, and you could see her reactions that she's even taken back by the entire thing.
This is a schedule. 5:30 a.m. I'm probably like 12 or 13. Friday, January 5th, 5:30 a.m. Hair and makeup in my hotel. 7 a.m. we get picked up. 7:15, I'm on the news. 7:45, I have another live interview. 8:15, another interview. 8:45, another interview. 9:30 to 11 a.m. meeting with editors. Back to the hotel. Okay, I have to do an interview, but the reporters are all 5th grade students. 1 to 2:30, me and my dad have a lunch interview. 2:40, we have to go to the Life magazine photo shoot. 3 to 5, interview and photo shoot for the Father's Day issue. Arrive at 6 p.m. for Kids Online interview. Then at 6:15, we have another interview. Then the next day starts at 7 a.m. and ends at 7:30 p.m. when I fly home to probably go to Hannah. That's on a Saturday. And then Monday, be back at work in the morning. I'm a lot of things, but lazy ain't one of them.
That truly was the next 4 years of your life.
Yeah. So I do think this girl deserves a little endless summer vacation.
Me too, honey.
There's no way that this amount of work didn't affect Miley's development. I think we can see a lot of what she'd gone through in her latest work. I mean, even her title saying, endless summer vacation and not touring anymore. She just needs a break. Someone wrote on Twitter, to have a 13-year-old doing all these things is pure exploitation. It makes no sense. Miley was quoted saying, "That's what people don't really understand about touring, is the show is only 90 minutes, but that's your life. If you're performing at a certain level of intensity and excellence, there should be an equal amount of recovery and rest." And she never got that rest, so now she's giving it to herself. Plus, she may be in a cult. If you guys have not seen that video, definitely go and check it out, because maybe she's not touring because she doesn't want to leave her cult family. Here's a breakdown of her schedule, and keep in mind, she's just an early teen at this point, so there's got to be a lot of pressure, and she constantly has to be on and put on this persona to keep a great reputation and to represent Disney, which I'm sure they did not want her to ever slip up. And it must have been a rude awakening when she did have that big shift and became a little bit more controversial. But what do you expect? I mean, having to work for so long and not really having the chance to understand who you are as a person puts you into a rebellious state of mind. And there were plenty of times where she was ill and just really couldn't give that performance because she was pushed past her breaking point.
All right, I don't really want to necessarily do this one anymore because my throat's really starting to, I feel like it's starting to hurt. So we can do it. I just don't want to sing anymore right now. I paid like $2,000 of doctor things, and they've all made me worse. I'm in so much pain today, so much worse pain in my neck. Every massage has made me worse. We flew some girl in from San Diego. She made me worse. I had like this guy come and beat me, and then I felt really good yesterday, and now I feel way worse.
This isn't the first time that Miley has shared how exhausting her schedule was as a teenager, and she claims that she used to have coffee jammed down her throat. Quote, "Every morning I was getting coffee jammed down my throat to wake me up. I just had to keep going, be tough, be strong. Everything happened to me on that set." And I mean, looking back at old interviews, you can tell that Miley was a good sport about everything. I think partly her father being famous gave her a little bit of insight into what she was expecting and growing up around this, but at the same time, it's hard to see these old interviews and to think how exhausted she must be and having to play this Miley Cyrus role.
And they said, "Oh, I want you to audition for Hannah," and then I auditioned for Hannah, and they told me I was too small, too young, and then I was really upset because I was like, "Did you know that from my first take?"
You can speak at the normal speed still, don't you?
So at first, I
No, now you're going too far the other way.
Then they said I was too small, too young, and then I was like, "Didn't you know that from the first take?" So then they kind of like kicked me to the curb. I tried to get, more makeup, higher heels to look older.
To look a bit older.
And it didn't work. And then they kept saying, "Yeah, well, you're good, but you're just not old enough." And then a couple months go by, and they asked me to come to California. I went there, and 5 minutes before my audition, I spilled Dr. Pepper on me, and a bird pooped on my head.
When Miley claims that she experienced everything on that set, she's not lying. At one point, her mother was worried about Miley getting seasonal affective disorder for being inside so often that she suggested bringing in bright lights. As if the bright lights are going to change anything. And I think at some points, Miley does have a breaking point where she feels like just, like an animal in a zoo being watched by these people and controlled on what to do.
Has anyone here ever felt anxious? Like, really anxious for no reason? And insecure and uncertain? Yeah, I feel that right now. And I don't know why. Maybe because doing what I do sometimes feels like I skydive for a living. I do something that's rare. This is why we treat people that are artists and get on stage like they're special, because we're not really special. We're just fucking crazy to get up and do this sort of thing. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden I just started feeling I felt anxious and I felt scared. And I guess what was making me feel scared was that I felt alone. And then I look out here and I see you all and I know that I'm not alone.
Even though Miley worked so hard on Hannah Montana, she came out in 2016 claiming that she was probably the least paid actor on that show. Miley said that she didn't know how much her salary was during negotiation, and her salary was quite low at one point. Quote, I just wanted to be on TV. I mean, at one point, they'd probably kill me for saying it. I was probably the least paid person on Hannah Montana because I didn't know any better. Quote, I was just like, I could be on Disney. Yeah, I want to do it. And I'm surprised with like Billy Ray Cyrus being in the industry that he didn't get her a better deal.
Why does Miley Cyrus hate Disney? Miley became an immediate star when her show Hannah Montana was put on Disney Channel, but the fame wasn't always fun for a 12-year-old Miley. She spent 14-hour days on set, recorded music in the evening, and spent weekends performing live for fans. Disney sent Miley on a world tour that grossed over $70 million, but Miley only made about $10,000 per concert. This is because Miley Cyrus was technically a stage name and Disney didn't have to pay her if they didn't want to. After the tour, Miley legally changed her name from Destiny Hope to Miley so she could negotiate better contracts with Disney. Then Miley had an idea to break out of her contract with Disney. She stirred up controversy by kissing her boyfriends in public and pole dancing at award shows. Miley started speaking out about her hate for Disney, and in 2011, Disney ended their contract with Miley. Miley proved she didn't need Disney on her Miley Cyrus World Tour. She sold over 800,000 tickets and made over $67 million.
I wouldn't be surprised if Miley doesn't like Disney because a lot of former Disney stars aren't big fans of Disney. And I don't think she even liked Hannah Montana either. At one point, she was quoted saying that she hated Hannah Montana and even went so far as to say portraying the character gave her body dysmorphia. And I think moving into music was a good move for Miley. She was quoted saying, I worked for 5 years on something that was a character where I didn't really get to be completely the creative person I wanted to be. So at this point, I did the work that I had to do and kind of make my money and do all that. Now I can make music just because I love it.
Miley Cyrus talking about Hannah Montana.
There was a different level of like hysteria when Hannah Montana, I mean, it was actually kind of crazy being Hannah Montana. Now I have a hard time remembering exactly what that felt like, but there was, you know, the way that kids would react at these like Hannah shows versus when I was myself and I would meet fans out. It was different. And so again, on that like kind of psychological level, I guess that's kind of why originally when I first started doing like solo projects as my own identity, I'd almost create kind of alter egos of myself.
There needs to be some type of case study into Miley Cyrus because her situation is so different than the normal person or even some of the celebrities we hear nowadays. When she did have her big switch up in 2013, she was quoted saying, I was an adult when I was supposed to be a kid. So now I'm an adult and I'm acting like a kid, which probably was a healing time for her because she could do what she wanted to whenever she wanted to. In 2014, she was quoted saying, when I went through a really intense breakup, you know, I was engaged, and when I was with Liam or when I was on Disney, the thing that gave me the most anxiety was not knowing what to do with myself when Disney wasn't there to carry me anymore or if I didn't have him. And now I'm free of both of those things and I'm fine. Like I lay in bed at night by myself and I'm totally okay. And that's so much stronger than the person 3 years ago who would have thought that they would have died if they didn't have a boyfriend. And I totally understand why Miley maybe was so dependent at some point because she constantly did have handlers around her controlling her and her schedule. She was probably so used to having someone there to give her direction.
I can get over things easily. I don't fall to the floor and crawl up in a ball the way that I used to. And I think that's a part of me growing up. Like when, you know, I recently just went through a very public divorce that f***ing sucked. What really sucked about it wasn't the fact that me and someone that I loved realized that we don't love each other the way that we used to anymore. That's okay. I can accept that. I can't accept the villainizing and the just all those stories that, like, it's just amazing to me that the public kind of thinks that there's no gap of time that they didn't see that could possibly be what led to this.
Even though Miley felt lost playing Hannah Montana, nowadays it does seem like she's somewhat fond of that character. Or at least she knows how to poke fun at the situation and make light of it. I mean, in March 2019, she was asked about Hannah Montana on RuPaul's Drag Race, and this is what she had to say.
By Hannah Montana. Hey, whatever happened to her?
A lot of drugs.
That won't make the edit.
So I think we can all agree that Miley was overworked as Hannah Montana, but she was also exploited as Miley Cyrus. There was this photo shoot of Miley Cyrus where she was young and they stripped her down and she didn't have any clothing on. And that's something that Billy Ray claims that he didn't know was going on. Maybe he should have been a little bit more involved because this photo got a lot of backlash because she is so young and they just like gave her a blanket to wear for this picture. I mean, she's only 15 years old in this picture, and I think whoever set up this photo shoot needs to be like questioned because why did they even think about doing this? It's also weird to see Hannah Montana like appearing topless like in this photo shoot when she's supposed to be this like squeaky clean Disney star.
We gotta go there. 2008. Everyone knows the controversy of the photo, but they don't really know the behind the scenes, which is always much more meaningful. My little sister Noah was sitting on Annie's lap and actually pushing the button of the camera, taking the pictures. My family was on set, and this was the first time I ever wore red lipstick because Patty Dubroff, who did my makeup, thought that that would be another element that would divide me from Hannah Montana. This image of me is a complete opposite of the bubblegum pop star that I had been known for being, and that's what was so upsetting. But really, really brilliant choices looking back now from those people.
So maybe Miley looks back fondly of this situation, but her dad had to answer to the public and he claims he wasn't there. Yes, she says her family was there. So what's the truth? Whether Billy Ray Cyrus was there or not, I mean, I feel like he was there, but he's gotten himself in trouble with taking bizarre pictures with Miley where they look like a romantic couple opposed to a father and a daughter. And he had to answer to that as well.
Actually, when you mentioned about you and your daughter, a lot of people took issue with that because it didn't look like a father and a daughter. It looked like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. And now when you look, but it's true. I mean, a lot of bloggers were very upset by that.
Bloggers say a lot of different things.
Billy Ray did have some excuses saying, "I'm sorry if I offended anyone. That's just a daddy who loves his daughter a whole lot." He continued, "For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. For every high, there's a low. It's just the way of life. She has a dream. She loves what she does for a living, and she just loves it." So there's some insight into what Miley Cyrus went through as a child star. I mean, going and working so hard as Hannah Montana, which is psychologically messing with her, and then taking weird, bizarre photo shoots that probably do haunt her nowadays. I mean, she talks about it in a nice way, but I mean, the backlash she received, I mean, she must have felt something being a 15-year-old and having the whole world criticize her. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here's my email if you have any other video ideas for me, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.